The quest for $10,000 continues tonight for the drivers in the iRacing.com World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series as we head to the Keystone State and pay a little visit to my personal favorite track on the iRacing service. The biggest and fastest track on the schedule, known as the Williams Grove Speedway. Following last week's events at the Knoxville Raceway, 6 drivers have a legitimate shot at taking home the championship after a rare internet connection failure for Hayden Cardwell took him out of the championship points lead. He now trails Dylan Wilson by just 1 point with 2 late races left to run. Who will leave Pennsylvania with their head held high and head off to Charlotte with a championship on their mind? We will all find out together over the course of the next hour here on the iRacing Esports Network. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome all of our live viewers out there. Welcome to Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania for the 9th event on the iRacing.com World of Outlaws Late Models calendar. We are live here on iRacing's Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels. This is Chase Rodman speaking with Justin Prince alongside here in the commentary box and Tyler Maxson in the production truck. Justin, this race last year was the definition of a dogfight, and I think we will see that once again here tonight at Williams Grove.
I think so too, especially since, on top of things, you see with the schedule on screen, it's been a dogfight all season. Not one definitive driver outside of Cardwell has been able to win multiple races, and not one has really dominated some of these races and had the consistency expected in a championship campaign. I'm expecting this dogfight to continue absolutely to this racetrack with the amount of potential slide jumps, the amount of potential intensity we're going to see throughout these corners tonight.
Well, if you're a regular viewer here of this series, you're probably wondering why we started this broadcast so early. Let's take a look here at the championship contenders for what we're going to see here for the next two nights of action, I should say. Dylan Wilson currently leads the points with 513, and that is just 1 point ahead of Hayden Cardwell, who has 3 wins on the season. And you look back there to last week's main event winner, the 0-0 of Kendall Tucker, is really about 15 or so points back. And you look back to Devin Morgan, Evan C., and Alex Bergeron. Bergeron currently 88 points behind Wilson, and he is the defending winner at this racetrack for these late models. So, Jesse, take a look at these guys. And a lot of them have had great runs, a lot of consistency, like Wilson, like Devin Morgan. And you have guys like Evan C., who the last 2 weekends has ended up upside down. Cardwell, he's came out of the B main on several occasions, drove through the field. And then Kendall Tucker finally grabbed that first win last weekend at Knoxville. And there he is sitting third with a great shot at the championship.
At this point, I don't know if we have a definitive favorite for it yet with how difficult this campaign is. Tucker's been having a late season resurgence, absolutely. Cardwell, every time he starts to set things right in terms of speed, he has bad luck headed towards his direction. Dylan Wilson, he's been good at the tracks that are good when the bottom line comes in. Devin Morgan, we've seen him pop up with speed, and don't forget about the bad luck of Evan C. after his strong start to the season, and Bergeron quietly running inside that picture. For the bottom half of that graphic, I think they need to really pick up the pace tonight and finish a lot of the drivers on the top half to have contention for that final half for the final race of the season. But for those top 3, if they have anything happen to them, they could fade to the back of the picture.
And let's take a look here at the rest of the standings here from behind those guys, 7th on back. And this is what it looks like here for the top 10 guys. Zach McSwain currently just behind Alex Bergeron there in 7th. He's had a great second half of the season here. James Eden's picked up a win at Kokomo Speedway. Blake Cannon, who is not here tonight, is in 9th in the point standings. And then we have J.D. Brown currently rounding out the top 10 drivers. But, all of these guys right there in that top 10, those guys 7th through 10th, have had great runs. They just haven't really had that consistency they need to be in the top 6.
And don't forget, that top 10 is all money-paying positions by the end of the season. The winner, of course, $10,000 cash out done to $100. So they're all still fighting for their biggest chance at whatever they can for that championship pot. The intensity for even the drivers not in the championship picture is not going to let up tonight, especially with a lot on the line with relegation.
Yeah, you take a look at this. You see that yellow line right there out, or just below Blake Majulis' name. You must finish inside the top 15 in the point standings at the end of next Monday night to retain that pro license, that black stripe that says that you can run in this series and run for the big money. You see Dylan Rafferty right there, one spot below that cut line. He is 30 points behind Majulis, and so if he were to finish there at the end of next race at Charlotte, he would not retain that Pro Series license, and he'd have to run it back through the qualifying series. So a lot of pressure there between Majulis, Rafferty, Kerwin, and even throw Cole Cabry into that conversation there as well. See the guys in purple there, JP, their chances of getting that pro license back are slim to none. I think that's actually showing that is not possible for those guys to get the pro license back.
Yep, will be relegated, as you see on the bottom of the graphic, and not able to get the maximum points, 156 on the calendar. But there's a couple surprises in there. Joe Berkeley, he showed great speed at times. Kevin Dedman, he's been improving his speed in recent weeks. He's just not been able to translate that to making the main races in some cases. And your inaugural race winner for the season, and his first ever start of the series, Drew Hopkins, he's back in 21st, a long shot to make it back towards that cut line. There are some surprising drivers who are below that top 15 cutoff, to say the very least.
And you talked about Kevin Dedman, who's had a couple of good weeks here these last 2 or 3 weeks or so. He was well in contention of this race win last year here at Williams Grove Speedway. If you were a regular viewer, if you watched this series last year, you would know that Kevin Dedman, Alex Bergeron, and Dylan Hauser put on one of the best races that we've ever seen in this championship right here at Williams Grove Speedway the last time we were here. So Dedman will be a threat here tonight for the victory, I would have to say. Let's take a look at the point structure, how you would earn points throughout the night here with this World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series. 8 points to win a heat race, with 8 points being awarded to, 1 point being awarded to 8th place in a heat race. Then you look over there at the feature event, 70 points to win the feature, with 23 being given out to 20th place. So as we mentioned several times throughout the season, 78 points, the maximum you can make up in one night here, JP.
Yeah, and again, that's going to provide a lot of the pressure, especially for the heats, for the track position, as we talked about. But those points for the feature tonight are going to be very crucial for many of these competitors. So I expect a lot of potential contact, actually, for many of these drivers to have a shot at those feature points for the top 20. It's going to be a dogfight, to say the very least, as we talked about. It's going to be tough, and don't forget, there's still a lot of money still on the line for the next couple rounds on top of the championship.
Hey, talk about the money. Let's take a look at the prizes that are up for grabs here with this series in 2020. Obviously, $10,000 is the lion's share to win the championship out of that $25,000 total prize pool. So $10,000 to win the championship, $4,000 for second, $2,000 third, $1,000 fourth, $500 for fifth. And you go down there to 10th place in the championship, will earn $100. Then that right side column, $300 to win each actual race, $200 for second, and $100 for third. And we're going to have to do some tallying by the time we get to Charlotte next week to see which driver up to that point has made the most money throughout the year, because it's probably a close fight between Dylan Wilson and Hayden Cardwell, and maybe even a couple other guys that have had some top 3 runs. A lot of money can be won here in this series if you do it right.
Yeah, that all builds up to potentially get yourself some future, I should rather say, equipment, future race opportunities in real life. It all goes and pays dividends to the drivers, to where they want to focus their racing career outside of the sim. So there's a lot of focus on that, but there's a lot of focus too on how things will break down for the format tonight for these drivers once again for this second to last time of the season.
Yeah, so 28 drivers have signed into the pit area here tonight at the virtual Williams Grove Speedway. That will add up to about 4 heat races, 8 laps in distance for the heat races. The top 4 in each of the heat races will move directly into the main event. Then you see right there the Consolation races. There's actually only one B main event here tonight, which is the way that I like to see it. So we'll have 8 drivers in the B main event, and that will equal up to 10 laps, and the top 4 drivers will transfer into the back of the 50-lap main event, which will be 20 drivers strong. And this will be the longest race that we see all season long. This is the biggest track they go to, the longest lap times. The cautions will take a long time if we have any, and the race laps will take a long time as well. So this will be the longest race that we have for these drivers. Probably around, I would say, 30 to maybe 40 minutes long. These guys will be in the seat and going at it in this feature, depending on how many cautions there are.
Yeah, the lap times here, 19.5s in practice, separated down to as far back as 19.9s. A fairly big racetrack, to say the very least. And that means Straightaway speed is going to be very important. It's a track that is more unique in terms of how you would build your setup for a track such as this tonight. There's also, however, the fact of interesting potential lines here because there's 12 degrees of banking in the corners here at Williams Grove Speedway. Many drivers, it seemed, preferred, at least in testing throughout the past few hours and in previous races, towards the bottom groove in turn 1 and 2. But there's also some who've been going up towards the wall, in fact, up to the cushion of the Armco barrier, trying to build a momentum, particularly in 3 and 4. Those various different lines, I think, are going to definitely play into what the drivers' preferences are for where they want to carry speed. Rolling the car on the bottom of the racetrack in the corners, or trying to carry momentum from the top down the straightaways to gain an advantage towards the straightaway to the start and finish line, as well as towards the bridge and the backstretch.
Yeah, this is going to be, as we saw last year at this race, for about the first 35 laps or so, we saw the top 3 guys up on the top of the racetrack on both ends of the speedway. Then about 15 laps to go, we saw a couple of guys start to make their way down to the bottom, and the race was eventually won by Alex Bergeron down on the inside by that inside guardrail. So there's no telling what is going to be the line here tonight. As you take a look right there, JP, with 35 seconds left in qualifying, Devin Morgan just jumped up to the top of the speed charts here, and you can see it really shuffling around here as we have still a couple more guys to take more times.
Yeah, one of the drivers yet to set a time, Blake Majulis, Alex Bergeron, Hayden Cardwell, who are still yet to put a time up on the board. But let's put it this way. Many of the drivers are actually rolling in that particular grouping towards the middle of the bottom lines because that's where a lot of the track is the freshest right now, to be able to try and carry the speed around the circuit. If you mess up those times, it's not easy, especially if you're in the championship fight. I think as we're about to see in just a few moments or so, a couple drivers, they're about to have a lot of work tonight, Chase.
Yeah, let's take a look at this first heat race lineup. And on the front row, you're going to see 2 of those drivers that we highlighted earlier on in that championship hunt. The 112 of Devin Morgan, he will go quick time here tonight with a lap time of 19.693. Kendall Tucker will start to his outside the 00 car. He's also the most recent winner with the series back at Knoxville last Monday night. Teammates in row number 2, the 52 car of James Edens, and on the outside, the 74 of Adam Elby will roll off from the 4th spot. Row 3 on the inside, the 15 car is Mason Crawford, and outside of him, the number 1 of Austin Carr will start from 6th. Back behind them, Kevin Dedman was the slowest driver in qualifying, who ended up 2nd in this race last year. He's got his work cut out for him for sure here in that Blossom Special number 0 car. He will start from 7th. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, he is one of the favorites coming into this one. But after that qualifying effort, he might not be one of the favorites after that right there, JP.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough, especially if you're towards the back of this race. But Dedman definitely needs to get his groupings together for this race. Has had some momentum in a couple of the races throughout the week. But compare that to the Morgans and the Tuckers in the world. Those 2 drivers expect to be very quick tonight, as well as Edens. It would attract that, especially during the early portion of this event tonight, is going to benefit the ones who like the middle to bottom line around this track.
Yeah, it's going to take a minute for these, the racetrack to get slickened up here. We can already see a little bit of a slick patch developing right there on the entrance to turn number 1. And we'll have to take a look at what it looks like down here in turn number 3 and 4. But if this is your first time watching, you would not know that the iRacing service, the guys over there, all the developers and all the coders and all that stuff, they did a fantastic job modeling a dynamic track surface. So when you see these guys run right through the middle of the racetrack or on the bottom or on the top, it actually throws that virtual dirt around and it moves the varying lines around, what the fastest line is. It might move around to the top, to the bottom. You might see these guys try and enter it on the bottom and slide up to the top of the racetrack. It's ever-changing out there on the racetrack. And at a place like this that's so big and so wide, that's going to come into play here come main event time here, JP. As we saw last year, man, Alex Bergeron caught those guys by surprise and went by in the last 5 laps on the bottom of the speedway to take the win there.
And I would be shocked to see that once again here, but it's going to be tricky for many of these competitors, as we talked about. It's just going to be a matter, I think, once again, it's been the theme of every single race the second half of the season. Keep your car clean. Don't make contact trying to go for a dirty slider, or else you're going to pay by having to go through the LCQ tonight. I think it's going to be an intense one.
Yeah, you can't be going through the LCQ here tonight because there's only one of them, and there's going to be a lot of drivers in that LCQ as we get ready to go green for the first heat race of the night. It's going to be the 112 of Devin Morgan, the 00 of Kendall Tucker on the front row. The green flag is in the air, and the 112 of Devin Morgan will do the field down the front stretch into turn one for the first time, and you see him try and go right through the middle of the racetrack. Still a lot of moisture in the center of the corners right now, and Devin Morgan leads this field up the back stretch and under the bridge for the first time.
Good spacing so far for the top three drivers, already to the middle line in 3 and 4. Should know James Edens got ran over the back of by Austin Carr through the first corner in the first lap. He's now got rear damage as he holds on to the 4th spot, while the race leader in Morgan tries to run away from Tucker and company.
Yeah, we might see a little bit of single file action here as this racetrack starts to wear out Devin Morgan and Kendall Tucker up front right now. Tucker, I think, needs to get by him here if he wants to put a little bit of pressure here on Hayden Cardwell and Dylan Wilson. Tucker came in tonight 15 points behind in the championship fight, and if he was to finish second right now, I think he would line up 5th for the main event. So Tucker, he really, really wants to win this heat race. Everybody obviously does, because if you win heat race number 1, you are on the pole of tonight's feature event.
And that's going to be absolutely huge if he can hold on to that top position right now for Team VRL. He's actually gained some time, hit the arm on the inside wall, loses the time right back. Tucker gains a little bit of time back. Not able to take advantage, however, despite the lost amount of momentum. Still separated by about 2-3 tenths of a second. Last time by, Tucker was 1/100th quicker at the stripe, halfway this time.
And I think that contact between James Edens and Austin Carr in turn 1 on the first lap is starting to affect that 52 car. You see a little bit of a crunch there on the right rear quarter panel on the 52 car, and he's definitely lost touch with the 74 of Adam Elby, and the 1 of Austin Carr is all over him as they work through 3 and 4. The final transfer spot might be up for grabs here by the end of this thing, as Edens is trying to hold on right now and hold off that 1 car of Austin Carr.
Now Edens right now about a tenth or so off the pace of the race leader for much of this run, even it out last time by Adam Elby running away from this group. But Edens just trying to hold on. Behind them, Carr and Dedman still fighting for 5th position. That might be the chance to build up enough of a buffer if you're James Edens. 2 to go this time.
Yeah, James Edens now starting to track down the 74 of LB just a little bit here as they work off at turn number 2 and up the back straightaway. Coming action to turn number 3. It's still Devin Morgan up front. The 00 of Kendall Tucker peeks his right front quarter panel, the inside of the 112 of Morgan through the center of the corner, but Devin Morgan has that momentum on the middle part of the racetrack to drive back around, and the white flag is out one more time around in heat race number 1.
Down the back straightaway once again, the race leader still is Morgan. Will Tucker try and force it to try and get the pole? One harder send. Nearly gets to the back end of Morgan. Around the inside of turn 4. Devin Morgan, checkered flag waved for him. He'll take heat race number 1. Tucker, LB, and Edens all advance in the first heat race of the night.
Everybody else, Austin Carr, Kevin Dedman, and Mason Crawford will come after, or have to come out of the B main event a little bit later on tonight as we get set to go for heat race number 2. And it's going to be the 07 car of Hayden Cardwell on the front row. Alongside of him, the 32 car of Steven Wilson, who was very good here last year, if memory recalls. Row 2 on the inside, the 49 of Joel Berkeley. And on the outside of him, the 11X car of Blake Brown. Row 3, the 14 of JD Brown. And on the outside of him, the 70 car of Davin Cardwell. And your final starter, the 311 of Austin Matthews. He will start back there in the 7th spot. And a guy I want to kind of highlight here and watch in this heat race is the 70 of Davin Cardwell. After, I think he started something like 18th last week at Knoxville and finished, was it 3rd, JP, I think? He was so good last week on the half mile. He's probably got that same setup loaded in and ready to rip here tonight.
Want to be surprised, absolutely, and it was one of his best performances, if not the best performance for him on the season. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him cut through the field, especially on a bit of this hotter racetrack tonight. But for the drivers up towards the front, my eyes are also peeled, though, on how Hayden Cardwell handles the drivers behind, especially with the teammate lined up the bottom. But Steven Wilson, who has a lot to fight for, too, starting to his outside here in this one.
Yeah, Steven Wilson, as I mentioned there before they rolled off from the grid, he was very, very impressive here last year. Was running inside the top 5. Not exactly sure where he finished up at, but he likes this racetrack a lot, and he put in a decent qualifying effort here tonight. And so, you know, Steven Wilson 100 points away from that cutoff line to finish inside the top 15 to retain that pro license. Yeah, he's currently, where is he at in the point standing? I don't even see him on the thing.
13th, rather, in the point standings, pardon me. 15 points ahead of the bubble, I should rather say, but 100 back of towards the top 10. And for someone like Wilson, for his sponsors, Chase, that's something that's going to be big for him. But as well, to grow the advantage over Majulis and company, because anything that happens to him, like not making a feature race, that allows someone like a Rafferty or a Corwin or a Capery to jump him and adds a lot more pressure to the Total Advantage Motorsports machine.
No doubt about it. Let's see what he can do here as they work through 3 and 4. The pace truck to the infield there in turn number 3. The field in the hands of Hayden Cardwell and Steven Wilson. They make some contact there on the start. More contact back behind between Berkeley and Blake Brown. That allows J.D. Brown to go by Blake Brown and take over the 4th spot. And, I thought there was going to be some contact there, but up front, Hayden Cardwell leads him down the back straightaway.
Good start for Hayden Cardwell. The rest of the field trying to still sort itself out into 1, 3, and 4 once again. Berkeley with a higher line. So was the top 2 as well. The rest of the field trying to stay as low as they could to the Armco barrier. First on lap goes to Hayden Cardwell as Steven Wilson tries to pull away. Near contact behind. Davin Cardwell just shoved Blake Brown out of the way to the bottom.
And Davin Cardwell trying to go by for that 5th spot. That's 1 spot shy of a transfer. Almost some more contact down to turn 3. Indeed, there is between the 70 and the 11X car off of turn number 4. Give the spot to Cardwell for a moment. They're side by side down the front straightaway, battling for 5th.
And keep in mind, they're now trying to keep up with Berkeley as he shoves him nearly all the way towards the middle line, right across the front nose of Blake Brown. Dalvin Cardwell still keeps going, a little bit of damage, but his eyes are now set on the 49, who now holds on to the transfer spot after he let J.D. Brown by in 1 and 2 with the slider.
There might be a virtual fist fight at the end of this one after that move by Davin Cardwell. He is absolutely ripping, though. He is tracking down Joel Berkeley in a hurry. Last time by, he's about a half-tenth faster, and he made up a lot of ground down there in 1 and 2. The 70 of Davin Cardwell drives it in deep. He's got a whole different line going on compared to the 49 of Joel Berkeley, and it's working out for him right now. He's still got about 4 laps to track him down.
Cross flags up in the air as Cardwell nearly hit the Armco barrier, similar to what we've seen from Devin Morgan. Loses him some momentum down the back straightaway. Still has to close in about 4/10. Really hard slider. Nearly got to the back end of Berkeley as he gets it on the gas. Closes up an extra couple car lengths with that slide with 3 to go.
3 laps to go. Your leader still the 07 of Hayden Cardwell, but the 32 car of Steven Wilson is keeping him in check as they work down underneath the bridge down the back straightaway. Cardwell with only about a 2-car length lead over the 32 car of Steven Wilson. This time by off of turn number 4, 2 laps to go, and Wilson still within striking distance if the 07 of Cardwell is to make a mistake here on these final couple laps.
And keep in mind, Wilson's been quicker the past couple laps as well. Their times near identical, 1-2. They've ran away from J.D. Brown. They've ran away from Joel Berkeley and company as Wilson once again nearly gets the back end of Hayden Cardwell. White flag this time by the top 2, separated by 0.2 of a second.
I don't think the 32 of Steven Wilson's going to back down here. Cardwell a little bit tight on the entry to turn number 1. Wilson drives on a lane lower than Cardwell off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. He's got one more shot at him down here in 3 and 4. Cardwell drives it into the bottom of the racetrack to protect, slides it up to the top, and Hayden Cardwell will be on the outside of the front row tonight as he wins heat race number 2. Followed by Steven Wilson, J.D. Brown, Joel Berkeley, the top 4. Then Davin Cardwell, Austin Matthews, and Blake Brown will be the top 7 finishers in that one. So this racetrack starting to get a little bit of character to it here. You see these guys starting to move around a lot more.
Yeah, indeed, especially with more drivers starting to slide up towards the high line a little bit more compared to the first heat, where we've seen it more towards the middle, sliding directly to the bottom, to the middle line specifically. I think we're going to see that change a little bit more with this next group of cars.
Yeah, Evan C. is on the pole of this one. He's currently 5th in the series points, and on the outside of him, the 22 car of Brandon Proudfoot. Row 2 on the inside, 3rd start of the 25 car is Zach McSwain, and to his right, 4th start of the 46 car for D1RT Racing is Dylan Rafferty. Row 3 on the inside, it's a 007, not James Bond, but that's Jacob Fields. And on the outside, the 157 car of Drew Hopkins. Your final starter is going to be the number 12 car, the defending winner of this race, the 12 of Alex Bergeron, the 2-time Sprint Car Series champion. He's got some work to do, but if anybody can do it, we know that 12 car can make some moves up here in this 3rd heat race.
And the crazy thing is, Bergeron set the slowest time out of anyone who put up a time in qualifying, a 20.5. So he really botched up his qualifying time to be that low on the pylon, especially when he was one of the quickest cars in practice. We're about to see if he can find his way around cars easily without making contact here to get himself those valuable points, to keep himself within range of the championship fight. If he doesn't, he's going to have to be near perfect in a feature race if he does make it to try and stay within range for the final race.
Yeah, we mentioned it. 88 points is the gap there for Alex Bergeron from Dylan Wilson as far as the championship points go. So it's a long shot for Bergeron, but this is his best track. He's talked about it multiple times, and he could get it done here tonight and get back into the conversation there. As we get ready to go, Evan C. and Brandon Proudfoot, both these drivers have had terrible last 2 weeks. I think both of them, actually, JP, have been upside down in both of the last 2 races. So we'll see if they can turn their luck around here tonight at the Williams Grove Speedway. Evan C., Brandon Proudfoot leading the field of Green Flag Racing in the heat race number 3.
And C already single file. Proudfoot rolls onto the top line. Here comes Zach McSwain trying to slide for second already. Watching behind as McSwain avoids contact. Rafferty still holds onto the bubble spot down the back straightaway. Jacob Fields already a 5th. Already up to 6th, though, as Alex Bergeron as he's trying to move Hopkins up the track down towards the first lap's end.
We've got a battle for the second spot down the front straightaway. Oh, McSwain gets into the side of Proudfoot. They keep on going, the 25 and the 22 battling hard for that second spot. Side by side down the back straightaway. Right behind them is the 46 of Rafferty. Oh, and upside down and nearly out of the ballpark goes the 22 of Proudfoot for the 3rd week in a row. He goes upside down off the front bumper of the 46 of Rafferty.
And he just cannot buy luck. Unfortunate for the Jim Beaver Esports machine. Done for this heat race. Unfortunate, but everyone else still rumbling along. But the battle for the bubble spot's about to get fun. Jacob Fields holding onto the bubble, but Alex Bergeron has already reeled him on in, always separated by a couple tenths as they try and line up in the middle line.
Yeah, everybody's single filed out here in heat race number 3. Track still trying to get worked in a little bit here. Alex Bergeron all over the the 007, I should say, of Jacob Fields as they work into turns 3 and 4. Dylan Rafferty, Zach McSwain running 2nd and 3rd. Your race leader still the 33 of Evan C. looking for a great starting spot in tonight's feature event.
And he set the fastest lap out of anyone, just topped though by Jacob Fields, who set a 20.040 as the track's continuing to wear itself in and slick itself in. Bergeron still steam within range. No one's been able to try for the slide quite yet. Rafferty's trying to position himself though, right behind McSwain. Still lockstep in terms of line. Bit lower that time for Rafferty, trying to get a little extra cut off the corner. Just can't get it right underneath McSwain to try and move yet.
Yeah, Rafferty looks a little bit better here than the 25 of McSwain. He drives it down to the inside, runs it up to the middle of the racetrack. McSwain up on the top side. That now allows the 007 of Fields to close in just a little bit here, but the race for second not quite over yet. White flag the next time by at the starter stand. Rafferty and the 25 of McSwain really duking it out here for this P2 position. Remember, every spot you gain in the heat race is worth 4 spots on the A-main starting grid, so every spot counts here as Rafferty tries to diamond it off the corner off turn number 4 as they come to the white flag.
White flag this time by, remember, Rafferty, the first driver out too. So he needs to be able to gain some track position to gain as many points as he can in the 46. Evan C. with a huge cushion of more than 0.6 of a second. McSwain trying to hold on to second. Rafferty nearly over-rotates it. Checkered flag is out. Evan C. wins heat race 3. McSwain, Rafferty, and Fields move on. But Alex Bergeron chase will have to go to the LCQ.
Yeah, he finishes in that 5th spot, 1 spot out of a transfer. Then behind him, Drew Hopkins on the 157 and Brandon Proudfoot, who went for a wild ride into turn number 3, nearly out of the ballpark. He will end up in 7th. We get ready for the final heat race of the night, and you'll see your current series point leader on the pole. It's the 80 of Dylan Wilson, and outside of him, the 23 car of Casey Kerwin. Row number 2 on the inside, the 127 defending series champion Blake Majulis, and outside of him, the 3 of Shane James. Row 3 on the inside, the 71 of Cole Cabry and the 18 of Daniel Cummings Jr. And your final starter is the 6 of CJ Phillips. He will start 7th on the grid. Dylan Wilson has got the pressure on him here now there, JP, as all of his championship competitors have won a heat race. Wilson, he almost has to win the heat race here.
Yeah, I think he has to at this point to keep lockstep with the rest of his competitors here. One mistake, especially with someone like Majulis right behind him, and he's dropping down the pylon. So I think he's not going to make it easy on anyone to try and go for a slider on him or try and drive around him. Knowing what the championship implications are, you have to know that if you're in this field as well as a driver, that's something you do not as a competitor necessarily want to be a major factor in, to the point where you could cost somebody a chance for a title. So we might see a bit of aggression still, yes, for that lead, but others might give him a little bit of leeway knowing that That 80 needs to have a clean race after what happened last week.
And luckily for him, right behind him is his teammate, the 127 of Blake Majulis, who recently made the switch from Swindell Speed Lab over to D1RT Racing. So Wilson does have that little bit of a friend back behind him, starting inside that second row. And so that might help him out here. Casey Kerwin, we know how bad that he needs to get up there in the championship standings. He currently is 17th. Looks like about 60 points behind Blake Majulis there to retain his pro license. So we know the 23 car's not going to be giving these guys any inches as we work down the backstretch. Going to be coming to the green this time by.
And quickly to mention, with the qualifying pace we've seen from Wilson in the past couple weeks, he's credited Majulis to that chase where he brought a lot of expert analysis and knowledge to build setups for qualifying pace to give someone like Wilson track position. It's going to be vital if he can hold on to that front position with the green flag out.
Green flag is in the air. Dylan Wilson leads the field down the front stretch in heat race number 4, the final heat of the night. Already side by side for second contact between Majulis and Kerwin. And here comes Shane James up to the inside. He'll go by both of them down the backstretch between Majulis and Kerwin. They make more contact down the backstretch, and now more contact into turn 3.
Nearly making more contact, in fact, near the exit of turn 4. But Shane James already up to second. Wilson already leads by half a second. More contact as there goes Casey Kerwin to the back of the field.
And that might be a penalty right there at the end of this one. The 127 getting to the back of the 23 of Kerwin. Now he's fighting with the 71 of Cole Cabry. That's for third. As Shane James has made some moves up to the front of the field. He started fourth and runs second here at the end of lap number 2.
Still a massive gap now for the drivers inside the top 4. Cole Cabry in a decent position. The next car back is CJ Phillips, about half a second behind. So the top 4 now looking for valuable track position, especially since someone like Shane James looking for a great points haul tonight. The number 3 machine still holding on to second, being around the bottom line, especially 3 and 4, middle and 1 and 2.
And we talked about at the top of the show, Shane James has been relegated out of retaining his pro license in 2020. So he's trying to do everything he can just to have a good run here and maybe win some money here tonight at the end of the race, maybe end up on the podium. So Shane James doing a fantastic job right now in the second spot, holding off the defending series champion. And the 71 of Cole Cabry back and forth, CJ Phillips, Daniel Cummings Jr., and Casey Kerwin with a lot of damage to that Jordan number 23 car, trying to finish this one off here with about 3 laps to go this time by.
And that's a nightmare if you're a fan of Casey Kerwin, since he was one of the drivers outside the bubble as well, about 60 back. Cole Cabry, he was about 63 back. He's been trying a couple sliders to Blake Majulis, just hasn't been able to get there, losing touch coming to 2 laps to go. Remember in the Sprint Car Series race, ran out of fuel in his respective heat race, looking comfortable as Majulis now wants to go for second.
Yeah, Majulis tried the bottom right there in turn 4. I think he liked what he saw there as he works back to the inside, about a lane lower than the 3 car of Shane James. Let's see what happens down here in 3 and 4. We did see James start off the race running the bottom, but he's now relegated himself up to the top. Majulis tries the bottom, and I think it's real nice right here. Nearly pulls up alongside of Shane James right there. So the bottom of the speedway starting to come in here late in these heat races.
Absolutely, with the white flag out, especially in 3 and 4, compared to in practice drivers trying that at 1 and 2. Majulis, will he try and go for some more track position? Trying to slide to the bottom side. James defends. Cole Cabry watches behind. Checker flag up as they make contact down the front.
And Majulis is not going to get there. The 3 of Shane James will hang on to second, and he's had a heck of a last couple weeks there for that number 3 car. Your race winner is Dylan Wilson, then James, then Majulis, and then back behind, it was the 71 of Cole Cabry, final transfer spot, CJ Phillips, Daniel Cummings Jr., and the 23 of Casey Kerwin will round out the field as we get ready for our Lone B main event here tonight. 10 laps in distance. The top 4 finishers will move into the A main event. Here's how they'll line up. It's the number 1 of Austin Carr on the front row, and outside of him, the 70 of Davin Cardwell. Row 2 on the inside, the 12 Alex Bergeron, and the 6 of CJ Phillips. Row number 3 on the inside, the 0 of Kevin Dedman, and to his right, the 311 of Austin Matthews. Row 4 on the inside, it is Drew Hopkins in the 157, and outside of him, the 18 car of Daniel Cummings Jr. Row 5, the 15 of Mason Crawford, and the 11X of Blake Brown. And your final 2 starters, these drivers both had problems in their heat races. The 22 of Brandon Proudfoot and the 23 of Casey Kerwin. But the 2 drivers I think we need to talk about here, the 0 I should say, of Kevin Dedman and the 12 Alex Bergeron. Both of those drivers ended up inside the top 3 in this race last year. So definitely not what they're expecting to see here tonight.
Not whatsoever. And this is, again, going to be fairly intense for that bubble spot tonight. Now, I think for some of the drivers, especially someone like a Proudfoot, we may see them try and charge up the field. It could be intriguing, though, how some of the drivers who are up in front of the drivers looking for valuable points do. And remember, the guy who's leading them to the green flag in this race, Austin Carr, he's a former winner of a feature race here back in 2018, the inaugural race of this racetrack. In round number 8, he's looking to try and carry some of that magic into this race tonight. By the way, Casey Kerwin did not make the start chase for this one.
Yeah, Casey Kerwin, I think he probably about had enough after that contact between himself and Blake Majulis. He might have called it a night and loaded it up in the virtual trailer. So not a good night there for the 23 of Casey Kerwin after a lot of contact there between himself and the 127. So getting ready to go green this next time by the line. It's the 1 of Austin Carr, the 70 of Davin Cardwell, the 12 of Alex Bergeron, the 6 of C.J. Phillips, the 000 of Kevin Dedman, the 311 of Austin Matthews, 157 Drew Hopkins, 18 Daniel Cummings Jr., 15 Mason Crawford, 11 Blake Brown, and 22 Brandon Proudfoot, the 11 cars that make the start. 10 laps top forward to the back of the A main event. 50 laps long for tonight's race here at Williams Grove Speedway. The pace truck makes his way underneath the bridge there on the backstretch. He'll hang a left to the infield here in turn number 3, and he'll turn him loose off of turn number 4 here for the B main. This should be a good one here as this track's starting to widen out, and these guys are going to be going for it all here. Those top 4 spots are oh so valuable as we go green off of turn number 4. Not a good start at all, I should say, for Davin Cardwell right there.
Yes, indeed. Nearly got freight train. Blake Brown was able to make it near 3 wide for some of the other cars. 4 wide to the back of the field. Top 2 already single file. Already Bergeron up to 2nd spot. Dedman already up to 4 spots. C.J. Phillips lost several positions off the jump as the race lead nearly side by side off of 4.
Yes, C.J. Phillips did not get a very good start there as he slips back to 5th. Kevin Dedman goes by. Now Dedman with a move to the inside of Davin Cardwell. They nearly get together. He gets hit from behind by C.J. Phillips, and that sends the 18 of Daniel Cummings Jr. around. He keeps on going, but a close call for Dedman as he gets into the back of Davin Cardwell once again in turn 3.
Lots of contact here, a lot of temper starting to flare here. Still side by side once again. Up the racetrack goes Dedman. Davin Cardwell preferring the bottom side. Off towards the back stretch once again towards the bridge. Dedman clear, he's up to 3rd. The next car up behind to fight for the bubble spot is Drew Hopkins as C.J. Phillips nearly hit him. Brandon Proudfoot also making his way up to the field. Also of note, Mason Crawford and Blake Brown way behind the field. Crawford in the pits. Brown 8 seconds back after he had contact the first lap.
A little bit of contact entering turn number 1 right there for Drew Hopkins. He got hit from behind by the 6 of C.J. Phillips to keep on going, but lose a little bit of ground to the 70 car of Davin Cardwell. Up front, though, 2 lanes of racing being developed here. The 1 of Austin Carr on the top, and Alex Bergeron, as we saw last year at this race, has got the bottom side rolling pretty good right now, especially down in 3 and 4. He seems to pull up alongside that number 1 car.
Yes, indeed, and looking very confident in doing so as well. Carr nearly all the way up to the Armco on the outside wall that time. Nearly slapping at that time as Bergeron towards the start and finish line halfway in the LCQ. The gap between 2nd and 3rd is already nearly a full second. That's how quick those two have been so far. The bubble spot is still up for grabs, though, especially with Hopkins looking for valuable points and C.J. Phillips still falling behind in his red and white machine.
And the 157 to Hopkins had a perfect corner right there, and he is all over Davin Cardwell into turn number 1. Hopkins definitely seems to have the better car right now. Between the 70 and the 157, Hopkins looks like his car is running really, really nice right now. Still about 3 to go this time by. Hopkins on the bottom of turn number 4 pulls up alongside of Davin Cardwell. Down the front straight with the battle for the bubble spot is not over yet as they work down into turn number 1.
And remember, this is what he did in Volusia as he hit the Armco on the inside. This will give the 70 more momentum down the back straightaway. Able to get back clear. Drew Hopkins now has to reset it up. Back to the bottom side in 3 and 4. Avoids the white tires. Moving his way back towards the Armco. Just about scrapes it. Diving in the corner. Back side by side. He gives the squeeze. 2 to go. This time by his Hopkins still side by side.
I thought he was going to try and drive it in deep to slide up in front of Davin Cardwell. They work down the back straightaway. Cardwell will get clear of the 157 to Hopkins. They work into turn number 3. Hopkins going to try and run that diamond maneuver off the bottom side of the racetrack at turn 4. Nearly clips the inside wall right there. He actually might have hit as they work down to the white flag. The race is still not over for the 4th spot as they work off at turn number 2 and down the backstretch for the final time.
This might come down to one aggressive move. The top three secure. That being Carr, Bergeron, and Dedman. Hopkins trying to gain more momentum. Phillips trying to set it. He hit the Armco. Checker flank. Carr wins the LCQ. Bergeron, Dedman, and Cardwell advance.
A valiant effort there from the 157 of Drew Hopkins. He got up next to him off of turn number 4, but Davin Cardwell will hang on to it. He will start 20th in tonight's main event. CJ Phillips was 6th, then Brandon Proudfoot, Austin Matthews, Daniel Cummings Jr., Blake Brown, Mason Crawford, and Casey Kerwin, who did not start the race, will end up in 12th there. Wow, so good stuff there throughout the heat races and the LCQ. When we come back here on the iRacing Esports Network, it is feature event time here at the Williams Grove Speedway for 50 times around. And we've got 5 of your championship competitors inside the top 5 feature starters, so this is going to be a good one. We'll be right back here on the iRacing Esports Network. "10 weeks of this series."
Not just to win for themselves, but for their families. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of drivers really fighting hard to make it into tonight's feature.
We have our 20-car field set. We're ready for 50 laps. That's my favorite part about this series here, Justin. We don't waste any time, man. The World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model World Championship Series here on iRacing.com. They are some of the most aggressive drivers in this series. Green flags in the air, we're underway.
Back up to the top line, 3 wide, off of turn 4.
He's going to do everything he can to try and get by him for the third spot. Pulls up alongside of him.
All battling under a blanket.
Down the back straightaway for the final time. Welcome back here to Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. We're getting ready for tonight's feature event for round number 9 of the iRacing.com World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series. 50 laps upcoming, 20 drivers, as these drivers are about to head onto the racetrack for a warm-up session. Let's take a look once again before this feature rolls off here, JP. Let's take a look at the championship standings between your top 6 guys that really have a great shot out of here.
Yes, this was pre the heat races tonight, but for these drivers, they have been able to keep lockstep with one another in the point standings throughout this event so far. It's been crucial to be up towards the front of the heat races and to compete as hard as they can around this racetrack. Now tonight, the pressure is on in this feature for Wilson, Hayden Cardwell, and Kendall Tucker to do what they did earlier this evening in speed and do it again, as well as drivers like Morgan and C to do what they can to get up towards the front of the field once more and stick there for as many points as they can to stay within range for the final race of the campaign.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can get that graphic updated there by the end of tonight's feature event to see who will be in contention come next Monday night at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Dirt Track. As you can see right there, my name is Chase Rodman and Justin Prince alongside. We're here to call the action. For tonight's action here at Williams Grove Speedway, we've been on the call all year long. It's been a fun season. We've seen some fantastic racing, and we've seen a lot of first-time series winners, which has been fun. JP, these guys have 2.5 minutes here to get this racetrack worked in, and I'm not going to lie, it was pretty hooked up there throughout those heat races and the B-main, so these guys are really chomping at the bit to get on the racetrack and kind of get this thing widened out a little bit.
That's exactly what they've been working on, many of these drivers, especially widening some of the space to use that bottom line. That's been starting to come into play in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It really started to hook up for the LCQ in the final heat race, expecting that to be the same. A couple drivers expecting to try and work in that cushion again, because a couple tried really hard to slide it from bottom all the way up to the top by the corner exits to try and carry momentum down the straightaways. It's going to be a fun one tonight to see which driver can out-strategize the other and which drivers can keep their cars clean to stay up towards the front.
No doubt about it here, and this is the second race that we've had in a row at a half-mile racetrack. Last week it was Kendall Tucker getting the win at the Knoxville Raceway. Devin Morgan was second. Davin Cardwell drove from 18th up to 3rd. Blake Cannon, James Edens completed the top 5. So Those are kind of some of the contenders, except for Blake Cannon. He is not here tonight, but those are some of the guys maybe you'll be watching for here in this one that might be running up towards the front, because obviously we've seen it. We've seen different names at the top of the scoring pylon at the end of the quarter-mile racetracks, like Hayden Cardwell. He was so good at Lernerville, won both those races. He won another race on a quarter-mile earlier this year. But then once we come to the half miles, we have some different guys in the mix with Drew Hopkins, Kendall Tucker, and some other guys. So you might see a different winner here tonight as we get ready. We're about to be seeing the starting grid here in just a few moments.
Indeed. And for many of these competitors, it's been very close throughout this championship. Drivers like Wilson and Cardwell stay lockstep, remember, with their heat race victories. Morgan got max points, C-max points. The drivers who put themselves a little bit behind were Kendall Tucker and Alex Bergeron, along with McSwain as well, among that top 7 grouping. It's going to be interesting how this feature is about to play out.
Well, here we go. Let's take a look at your feature event lineup on the pole. It is the 112 of Devin Morgan, and on the outside of him, the 07 of Hayden Cardwell. Row 2 on the inside, the 33 of Evan C., and on the outside, the current series point leader, it's the 80 of Dylan Wilson. Row 3 on the inside, the 00 of Kendall Tucker, and outside of him, the 32 car is Steven Wilson. Row 4 on the inside, your 7th place starter here tonight, the 25 of Zach McSwain. And on the outside of him, the best feature start so far this year for the 3 of Shane James. Row 5 on the inside, the 74 of Adam Elby, and to his right, the 14 of J.D. Brown. Row 6 on the inside, the 46 of Dylan Rafferty, and outside of him, the defending series champion, the 127 of Blake Majulis. Row 7, the 52 car of James Edens, and outside of him, the 49 car of Joel Berkeley. Row 8, the 007 of Jacob Fields, the 71 car of Cole Cabry. Row 9, your B-main event winner, the number 1 of Austin Carr. And outside of him, the defending winner of this race, the 12 of Alex Bergeron. And your final 2 starters, the 0 of Kevin Dedman and the 70 of Davin Cardwell, looking to make it up to the front of the field for the 2nd week in a row out of the B-main event. So, man, the first 3 rows in this one, JP, make me very, very excited to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of slide jobs, especially in that mid-pack tonight. We've already seen some close calls and some contact off the jumps as well. It's going to be tricky. I'm expecting a lot of speed, though, from guys like Cardwell and guys like Wilson, because Cardwell, he's been one of the top drivers in practices throughout this entire preparation for the weekend. Wilson, I'm expecting him to have been putting a lot of preparation on with his family to prepare for this race tonight. This is going to be fun to see who can come up on top.
We're going green the next time by here from the Williams Grove Speedway as these drivers make their way through 1 and 2 for the final observation lap before we turn them loose. Pick out a favorite here, ladies and gentlemen. Make some bets. Maybe not any money bets, but, you know, maybe with somebody in the chat there on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Who do you think is going to win this one as these drivers get set to go? They work their way under the bridge here at the Williams Grove Speedway, and into turn number 3 and off of turn number 4 will be set for 50 laps. Round number 9 of the iRacing.com World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series. Off of turn number 4 is green. Devin Morgan and Hayden Cardwell lead him down to the green.
Good launch for them. A couple drivers locked down out the start. Outside of that, clean start for the majority of the field. C already to the bottom side, trying to attack for second. Wilson following the suit of Hayden Cardwell. Bit of a squeeze. M&C can't get clear. Morgan still up towards the front, slides to the middle line. Hayden Cardwell up to the Armco. Still side by side for third as Wilson tries to clear by C at the end of the first lap.
Devin Morgan in pursuit of his first ever World Championship Series win. Dylan Wilson gets by the 33 of Evan C on the top of the racetrack, and he's trying to bring the 00 of Kendall Tucker along with him. C tries to get in line. He does so down the backstretch. Nearly contact up front is Morgan. He entered it on the bottom, and Hayden Cardwell was not expecting that. He nearly clipped him in the left rear right there. They keep on going side by side for third down the front straightaway.
Still side by side indeed as Tucker still tries to fall behind Steven Wilson in that grouping. Shane James also in that grouping as well. Still, the top 2 are pulled away as the battle for third finally clear. Wilson gets clear. C makes contact. Tucker nearly makes contact in 3 and 4. They all avoid the Armco barriers. They're side by side again for the spot.
And you see Wilson being very aggressive here in some of these maneuvers. He's trying to get away from the 33 of MNC. He sees that guy right in front of him. The 07 of Hayden Cardwell. That's the guy that he is battling with in the championship. Cardwell's into the fence. Cardwell hit the wall on the edge of the turn number 3, loses a lot of ground to the 112 of Devin Morgan. He gathers it back in, maintains second, but Dylan Wilson closes in just a little bit there for that second spot.
Lost him about 2 car lengths as a result, as all the drivers up at the front using the middle to higher line right now. 3 wide behind for 5th, back to 2 wide. Tucker was able to get clear. Wilson trying to hold off Shane James. Cardwell again up to the top as you see the Hornet's Nest now developing in the middle of the pack already.
Dylan Wilson tried the bottom of the racetrack right there in 3 and 4. It did not work out for him. Now he goes back to the top of the speedway here in 1 and 2. Devin Morgan still up front. Then Hayden Cardwell, Wilson, Evans C. 4th, and Kendall Tucker in the 5th spot. Then we see Stephen Wilson, J.D. Brown. Shane James is back here along with the 25 of Zach McSwain and the 127 of Blake Majulis. He started 12th. He's now almost up to the 9th spot here.
Already still scrapping in this grouping as well with Wilson. That's J.D. Brown in the blue machine. You got McSwain trying to fall in the black and red machine. Shane James trying to boom right along the bottom of the racetrack as well. Underneath the bridge once again. This loses them the more they find a few car lengths per lap. Blake Majulis, though, is starting to join the fun as well. He hit the arm code, though, on the bottom of the racetrack, but 43 to go this time.
Last time by Hayden Cardwell with a 20.56 lap time. Devin Morgan a 20.62. So the 07 of Cardwell has been the fastest car on the racetrack the last couple laps here. Morgan looks like he's in protection mode here, JP. He does not want to allow the 07 to throw him a slider down here. And you see him entering in on the bottom. Here comes Cardwell. He'll try and roll the bottom here in 1 and 2. So a little bit of a different attack here for the 07. It does not work for him, and the 112 pulls away down the backstretch.
Back towards his preferred line in 3 and 4, though, up to the top side. Trying to rim ride. Once again, though, Morgan trying to use the middle line. Better momentum for Hayden Cardwell down the front straightaway. Gains himself half a car length. Back up towards the top of the Armco barriers once more. As once more, the top 5 all single file out. Wilson finally with a little bit of space behind him, though, by a car length and a half from Evans C. Kendall Tucker and company. All while the drivers behind, they've been doing some big-time sliders trying to get out of this grouping.
Yeah, the 14 and J.D. Brown threw a big slide job on the 32 car of Stephen Wilson the last time by into turn 1. Now Wilson goes to the middle, and Brown is fighting with the 25 of Zach McSwain as they work off a turn number 2 and up the back straightaway. That is going on for the 7th spot. Now Brown all over Wilson as they enter turn 3. Brown nearly clipped the inside wall right there. Keeps on going, pulls up alongside of Stephen Wilson. Great battle for 6 off of turn number 4.
Now side by side once again as Wilson tries to hold on to the middle. There goes Brown, J.D. Hollywood Brown for the spot. McSwain tries to attack now. Majulis watches along behind. They go single file underneath the blue bridge. Brown goes to the bottom, Wilson up towards the top. And J.D. Brown now moves himself up +4 from the drop of the green flag up to P6 as Majulis now trying to attack behind. That's with McSwain in 1 and 2.
Yeah, J.D. Brown looks very, very good right now early in this one. As you see, Blake Majulis pulls up alongside of Zach McSwain. Contact down the backstretch, more contact entering turn 3. Majulis came off the bottom, kind of gave the door a little bit to the 25 McSwain. But as you mentioned it there, JP, the 127 is on the move on the bottom of the speedway. Everybody else up in front of him seems to be running the top side. Majulis with a slider right there gets by the 25 McSwain.
McSwain, though, with the crossover back, trying to give him a little bit of a squeeze underneath the bridge. Up the track, McSwain later arc, slide jobs back, up to the top, crossover back, Majulis down to the bottom of the racetrack. Better run off the corner, he now has the preferred line once again. Bit earlier off the gas though as McSwain slides back up the racetrack, all while they reel in mix once again Wilson as Majulis nearly got clear on the bottom again.
Yeah, Majulis is very good on the bottom. You got to really slow your car down to hit the bottom the way you need to make it fast here around the Williams Grove Speedway. Back up front, though, it is the 112 of Devin Morgan out to about a 0.3 of a second lead over the 07 of Cardwell. That's about a 1.5 second gap back to the 80 of Wilson C, the 33 of C, and the 00 of Kendall Tucker. So the top 2 are kind of spread out, but the battle for 3rd is 3 cars strong as they all run the middle off of turn number 4 and down the front straightaway, looking on as they see Cardwell try and track down the 112 of Morgan.
There's the choo-choo train indeed, and now they're starting to change up lines. Wilson went up towards the top seat, planted it on the bottom side. He's down underneath the 80 once again. This time, though, Wilson with better momentum into 3, able to get clear once more on the racetrack. These drivers have been switching up their lines, but it just seems C and Wilson are near dead even chase on pace. Whenever C gets underneath, Wilson's just been able to get clear by the time they get to the back straightaway most of the time.
And just behind them, the 25 of Zach McSwain makes it behind the 32 of Steven Wilson, as does the 127 of Blake Majulis. Steven Wilson was running the top of the racetrack the last time by in 3 and 4, clipped the outside guardrail and lost 2 spots right there. So a very costly mistake for the 32 of Wilson. Back up in that 3rd spot, though. There goes Evan C to the inside. He takes it away from Dylan Wilson.
Finally was able to stick underneath for a full lap as Wilson trying to still hold on. Tucker still watches behind. Now Wilson makes contact. They bump and bang. C up into the Armco barrier. Tucker drives on by. Wilson still holds on to 3rd, but C's been bumped all the way back to 5th.
Right spot, right time right there for the 00 of Kendall Tucker. He moves up into the 4th spot after that big win last week at Knoxville, trying to have another great run here tonight. Up front, though, we've seen it time and time again. There is nobody better in this series at running the top of the racetrack than the 07 of Hayden Cardwell. Watch him down here in 3 and 4, JP. The cushion has been pushed up right next to the outside guardrail, and he is near picture perfect on the top of the speedway right here.
Taking a look right now, as you can see, Cardwell just about scraped it. Better momentum off the corner. Have to check up once again. Morgan lost a lot of momentum off the corner. Both of them this time go up to the top. Once again, defensive mode. Once more from Devin Morgan. Trying to hold on. The green and black machines 1 and 2 at the front of the field. Hayden Cardwell once again to the top. This time Morgan going to the bottom side. Loses momentum. Cardwell scrapes the wall.
Yeah, he hit it 3 times right there and loses now 5-6 car lengths. And if we don't get a caution, that might be the end of the race right there. The 112 of Devin Morgan is kind of playing it safe, about a lane and a half, maybe a half lane off the wall. And you see Cardwell going for broke back there. He really doesn't have a whole lot to lose right now. He is 1 spot ahead of Dylan Wilson, which would give him the points lead if they finish like that. So Cardwell is really just trying anything he can to find some more speed. We take a look at the lap times. That time by Morgan with a 21.0 and Cardwell with a 20.96. So Cardwell still the best car on the speedway, as you can kind of see the lap traffic starting to loom ahead here.
Yes, indeed. That's still a little bit up the way. Should note Joe Berkeley has put his car in the pit lane as of a few laps ago. He had some early race trouble at the very back of the field. Everyone else, though, has stayed separated by about 12 seconds on the racetrack. Battle for 3rd, heating up. Wilson moved right back to the bottom side. He's known for preferring the bottom of the racetrack at tracks such as this. Kendall Tucker, he's trying to work the top. Matches now to the bottom side. Trying to get underneath Wilson to take away the preferred line. Nearly scrapes the inside wall. Back single file down the front again.
And you see how close you got to be to the inside wall to make it fast here. You saw Kendall Tucker. He could have stuck his hand out the window right there and gave a high five to a spectator on the inside of the racetrack. Now he ducks to the inside. Race for 3rd down the back straightaway. Great move right there from Kendall Tucker. Wilson fights back on the outside, but side by side for 3rd. Off a turn number 4. Give the spot back to Wilson.
Not done over yet, though. Once again, Tucker nearly made contact. Wilson sent it in hard. Tucker backed up on the throttle, though. Aims it off the corner. Better momentum on the bottom side. Wilson with the better run by the corner edge stick. Once again, back towards the entry, past the pit lane once more. And all this fighting, look at that, has allowed C and JD Brown to join the fun for a podium spot.
And all that fun is going on about a straightaway behind your top 2, who have now gotten themselves back close together. Hayden Cardwell is all over the 112 of Devin Morgan for the race lead. Look at the line that the 112, or the 07 I should say, is running. He gets that thing absolutely backed into the corner in turn 3 and turns it down the hill. Gets a big run down the straightaway, but has nowhere to go with it because the 112 of Morgan is running the bottom and Cardwell cannot throw the slider. Watch the line down here for the 07 of Cardwell. Backs it in up here in the cushion right here, and this time actually he's going to run it up by the outside wall, and he's going to try and track down the 112, but you see Cardwell, he's trying everything he can to track down the 112 of Devin Morgan right now.
Yeah, he's now back up towards the top. You can see Morgan preferring the bottom side as it's gone in very wide, the amount of slick around this racetrack. You can see multiple groups, especially the bottom to middle line. Harder slide once again for Morgan. Cardwell trying to dime in the corner. He's now losing a bit of time to the race leader. Morgan was quicker last time by with a 21.114. That time by a couple 100 separated the two. They're still, however, 3.5 seconds ahead of the rest of the field.
And the next thing I'm taking a look at here is the 33 of Evan C. After that contact with Dylan Wilson, he is now caught back up to these 2 guys, Wilson and Tucker. So C, he might not be very happy about that maneuver a couple laps ago. If he gets to Wilson, there might be some contact between those 2. That's something we need to take an eye on here, to keep an eye on. the D1RT number 80 car and the VLR number 33. They might not be too friendly with each other right here as they work now. What do we got? 18 laps to go here from Williams Grove.
At the outer end of the racetrack, though, Cardwell just about pancaked the wall with his 07 machine. Lost a lot of momentum, went flat against the Armco barrier. All while these drivers still continue to scrap for third position. Wilson once again the bottom side. Tucker prefers the top. Evan C now within range to once again attack the 00. But the main difficult part has been not making contact when everyone has switched to the bottom line once again for 3 and 4. It seems like the preferred line for most of the field outside of a couple drivers here in their chase.
Taking a look at the lap times up front. Devin Morgan with a 21.20 the last time. Hayden Cardwell with a 21.21. And now one lap car for your race leaders. Actually, a couple lap cars here for your race leaders to deal with. But luckily, these drivers are pretty respectful here at the back of the field. I'm sure they'll let your leaders go. But that's just something to keep an eye on here. If maybe one of these lap cars makes a mistake right in front of your leader, that could bottle them back up here. Morgan making his way back into turn 3. 15 laps to go this time by. He is 15 laps away from his first World Championship Series win. That's the 112 of Devin Morgan as he works across the starter stand.
It's been an impressive season for Morgan, to say the very least. Especially to be able to defend. He's been getting faster and faster each and every week. Still needs to hold on for a few more laps. All while Wilson tries to hold on to third spot still. This time, though, Tucker once again better momentum on the top line in the battle with C. They're all fighting for valuable points to try and set themselves up for the final race of the campaign to the dirt track at Charlotte next week.
Yep, next Monday night we will crown a champion with this series as they work up to the lap cars. The first one they will encounter is the number 1 of Austin Carr and the 007 of Jacob Fields. The 112 of Devin Morgan running the middle of the speedway here in 3 and 4. Hayden Cardwell on the bottom, and Cardwell is definitely losing some ground. He was about a 10th slower that last time by, so Cardwell, whatever speed he had, is now gone, and Devin Morgan is starting to ride off into the Pennsylvania sunset here in that number 112 car. He works up the backstretch to the inside of Austin Carr to put him a lap down.
That is a teammate right there, and another car nearly crashed into the pit lane. Trying to get out of the way, that was Jacob Fields ducking in. Still, we made race green, and Cardwell has actually lost more time as they started to reach the traffic. Lost about 3-4 tenths in the past couple laps.
Dylan Wilson still hanging on to the second spot. Kendall Tucker now fighting with the 33 of Evan C. C takes a look to the inside down the backstretch. Tucker will get clear of him. Now back into turn number 3 and 4. These drivers have been running the same line the entire time down on this end of the speedway, right through the middle of the speedway. And Dylan Wilson is making it work and hanging on to third. And I think if they finish like this, with how they have the heat race points, I think Dylan Wilson would be, I think, maybe 2 points behind, or maybe 1 point behind if they win to Charlotte to finish like this, JP.
That's around what I'm expecting as well, depending on how things shake out. But it's still getting interesting for that 4th spot. You've seen right in the middle of 3 and 4, there was contact last time by, coming to 10 laps to go. It's getting still dicey between Tucker and C. C again, good launch off the exits, but better momentum by the end of the straightaway so far for Tucker in this scrap as they continue to now reel in their battle with traffic up the road. Remember, Austin Carr is just up the racetrack from these machines.
And also, how about some good runs here? Let's give a hat shake to the 127 of Blake Majulis, who is now going to the inside of J.D. Brown back there for about the 6th spot. Majulis started back in 12th, and he's about to crack into the top 6. And also, Alex Bergeron from 18th up to 9th. And mind you, we have not had one yellow this entire time. So the 127 and the 12 car are putting on a show from the back of the field as Majulis makes a little bit of contact right there with J.D. Brown. As we look at this battle for third, C, Tucker, and Wilson continue to go at it as they work up the back straightaway.
And that battle for 6 now as well with 7 to go. Brown moves back up to the top line again. He's preferred that line at times, it seems, tonight. Majulis, though, he's been one of the best when it comes to the bottom. He's just not been able to get track position. He tries to shove Brown on the racetrack. Majulis back towards the tires and the Armco on the inside once again. But Brown with the preferred line of momentum. Majulis, though, clears him.
Oh, and a close call. Right in front of your third place car is the 1 of Austin Carr. Ducked down into the pit area and hit the wall head on. Right in front of your championship points leader. A very close call right there for the 80 of Dylan Wilson. He had to make some evasive maneuvers to not hit Austin Carr, but he maintains the 3rd spot. Now Evan C, after that contact, is all over Wilson back into turn 3.
Still trying to pounce once again with 4 laps to go this time by for them at the stripe. Wilson still defending hard. C still trying to get the spot hard. Once again, right underneath in the middle of the corner, but again, Wilson has been quicker right here from this point on. This time, though, C nearly hits the left rear. He hits the inside wall a touch, loses momentum. Wilson nearly over-rotates as C loses a lot of momentum off the corner.
4 laps to go here in the battle for the third spot between the 80 of Dylan Wilson, the 33 of Evan C. And valuable championship points are up for grabs here in this one as they work down the back straightaway. Wilson and C trying to go at it for this third spot. They're way, way behind your race leader, Devin Morgan, and the 07 of Hayden Cardwell. But that doesn't matter at this point. Wilson and C trying to battle for that final podium spot.
Remember, points are on the line. 3. Separate yourself between what you have for third as well as the fourth position. Currently, estimates about 1 point separation for the top spot. So for Wilson, this is crucial. He cannot afford to lose this spot in the next couple laps of this race. 2 to go at the stripe.
2 laps to go for the 112 of Devin Morgan as he's looking to win his first ever iRacing World Championship Series victory. He works to the 3 and 4 to the white flag this time by. Wilson has gotten separated just a little bit here from the 33 of Evan C, but back behind. Blake Majulis all over the 00 car of Kendall Tucker. White flag is out though, and making his way through 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway. The 112 of Devin Morgan has maybe been the most consistent driver all season long, and tonight it'll finally pay off as he'll get the win in the Keystone State. Devin Morgan leads all 50 tonight at the Williams Grove Speedway, and he gets the win during round number 9 of the World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series. Second to the 07 of Hayden Cardwell, fourth to Evan C, and 5th to the 00 of Kendall Tucker. And from what we are being told, 1 point will separate the top 2 heading into the final round.
That was coming into the feature, but remember with the calculations, it is still going to be tight regardless. Single digits between the top 2. It was crucial for Wilson to defend that third position. He did that very well tonight, holding off the VRL machine right behind him. But a big blow for the rest of the drivers who looked to try and get in the picture. Bergeron, only P9. What a race, though, either way.
Yeah, we just went 50 straight laps green there. Great stuff from the drivers in this series after having a couple of cautions last week. As we take a look at the rest of the top 10, Blake Majulis was 6th, J.D. Brown was 7th, Zach McSwain was 8th, Alex Bergeron 18th up to 9th, James Edens was 10th, and then back behind 11th through 20th looked like this. Stephen Wilson was 11th, Adam Elby 12th, Dylan Rafferty 13th, Cole Cabry 14th, Kevin Dedman 15th, then Shane James, Davin Cardwell, Austin Carr, Jacob Fields, and the 49 of Joel Berkeley will round out the field here in this one. But how about Devin Morgan becomes another first-time winner in 2020? I think that's probably the 4th, 5th, maybe even the 6th first-time series winner this year.
It was an impressive drive, let's put it that way, Chase. And based on the speed we were getting from him the past couple weeks, it almost felt like he was ready to break out, get that elusive victory, especially with the podium finishes becoming more consistent and getting top 5s starting off in the middle portion of the campaign all the way up until now. What a drive for Morgan. He ran away from the current one of the top drivers in the series this season in Hayden Cardwell and made a statement to keep himself in the championship fight, potentially for the final race of the campaign.
No doubt about it. Let's talk to him here. Devin Morgan is now in the broadcast booth here. The number 112 car getting a World Championship Series victory, and to my knowledge, the first one that he's ever gotten. Devin, how excited are you right now to win here tonight at Williams Grove Speedway and hold off Hayden Cardwell for the win?
Oh man, I am absolutely pumped. You know, I knew going in tonight, it just felt good. Everything felt good from World of Thunder last night. I had a really good car, and I was very confident. And you know, I told everyone in VLR, I said, tonight's my night, and I just nailed qualifying. Was able to hold off Kendall in the heat race and hold off Hayden for the first half until my setup came in.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun to watch you guys try and work the different lines there. What was the key there for the first part of the race? You know, the track started out really hooked up, and it took a long time for it to blow off there, maybe about 20 laps into the feature. What was the hardest part about trying to find a line that you were going to run? It seemed like you were trying a lot of different stuff out there.
Yeah, I was searching around a whole lot because, Hayden was just eating me up no matter where I went. And ultimately, I just decided 1 and 2 for the most part. I was going to rail the top, and then 3 and 4 I was going to run slider. And, it's going to be very hard for him to get around me. And I someone said go to the bottom 1 and 2, and I went to it, and I mean it picked up a whole lot, and I was just able to just slowly drive away from there.
Well, next week, I think you are definitely in the conversation for the championship. Obviously, it's kind of maybe a long shot, if you will. I mean, you came in tonight, I don't do math very good here, but maybe about 40 points out of the lead, 42 points or so. You do gain a couple there on Hayden, but being able to head into Charlotte knowing that you have a chance if everything goes your way, is that what you were expecting when you started off the series at Volusia Speedway Park? Were you expecting to be part of the championship conversation come Charlotte?
To be honest, somewhat. There was a feeling I had. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I've just seemed very mediocre or consistent, I guess I should say. And so I had a long shot feeling that I might be in the question. But after Lima Land and Fairbury, I said this last week with them small tracks, I put myself behind the 8 ball. But now we're on the big tracks where I feel confident. I just need some luck to go my way. I mean, the top 5 in points was absolutely on it tonight, from qualifying to starting there. And I believe we all finished inside the top 5 also. And Hayden and Dylan finishing second and third definitely doesn't help me gain any points, but it tightens it up just a little bit. Every position matters, so maybe luck can fall on my side and I can get the championship in Charlotte.
Well, we've seen some crazy stuff happen in the past, so I would not doubt it there. Devin Morgan gets the win here tonight. For the first time in his career, he is a winner in World Championship Series competition on the iRacing.com service, and coming home in second with an unofficial point lead of 2. Heading into Charlotte, it's Hayden Carville. He's now standing by with Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Hayden. First things first, hard-fought race tonight. What do you feel you would have needed to try and get a victory? You were close much of the evening to the back end of that 112.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. I think it would have took just that top side to stay faster for longer. It was really good at the beginning, and we were just running that top and that top there at the beginning there, and then that bottom came in that middle for Morgan, and I had nothing for him. He was checked out there. So we were content with the second. Coming in, we had one goal, and that was to beat the 80 car, and we were one spot better. We were able to get the points lead, and hopefully we can finish this still next week. It's not going to be easy, but we put ourselves in a good position, even though with all this bad luck we've had, to be there at the end, and I'm very thankful for it.
Once again, unofficially, you have that advantage now by just 2 points. What's your approach going to be for that final championship race to make sure you finish with that title without any mistakes, without any potential contact, without anything going wrong for you?
Yeah. Throughout this week and stuff, and through the weekend, where all the boys at Slick and all the Speed Lab guys, we're just gonna have to put in a lot of work. That's all it is. I know that Wilson and all those guys, Morgan and Evan and all those guys, they're gonna be putting in work too. It's not gonna be easy. We just gotta lay a good qualifying lap down next week. It's huge. We laid a pretty good one down tonight. Started second, finished second. So if we can do that next week, I think we can put myself in a good position there at Charlotte. It's one of my favorite racetracks. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much for the time, Hayden. Congratulations on the second.
Hey, thank you.
And Cardwell finished in P2 chase.
And now we talk to the driver that came in tonight as the point leader. He will leave in second in the points. Dylan Wilson. Dylan, you drove so hard there trying to hold off Evan and Kendall Tucker. What were the nerves like there in those last couple laps, knowing that you needed to be as close as you could be to Hayden to really, cushion that point loss that was going to happen there?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, it kind of had that green feel after about 10 laps, so I just tried to settle in, and we weren't really any good. I don't know, I missed the setup a bunch, so I was just hanging on in a line I was comfortable with, and Kendall and Evan had some good runs on me there. I didn't mean to get into Evan there. I apologize for that. I just kind of lost him in my screen, and then by the time I saw him, we were together. And like I said, just holding on. Like I said, I was no good. I probably was like a 6th or 7th place car and ended up finishing third. But sometimes it's what you got to do to win these things or win the points in these things.
How much practice and preparation goes in knowing that you are one 50-lap main event away from possibly winning $10,000, which, it might not be life-changing money, but it could easily go to, paying off a car, paying off, a credit card bill or whatever the heck it is. How much preparation are you going to be doing to make sure you have the best possible shot to win next week?
Well, the good thing about it being at Charlotte is that we just had a big money race there. They're called the Spring Fling in April. So we all have pretty good setups from there. Not much has changed with the track since then. So we'll all probably be basing our setups off that. And Hayden won that race, and I came from deep to finish third with damage. So we have a really good piece. I just need to make sure I qualify well. I'll be working all week on a qualifying setup. So if we can qualify up front, I think we can keep it there. But it's just all going to be about who has the best speed in qualifying, and trying to pass these guys in the main is hard. But next week's just going to be wild, I think. You got 2 or 3 guys with a chance at points, so should be fun.
Are you nervous yet?
Honestly, I thought I would be, but I'm not. I get nervous about a half hour prior to the server luncheon, but no, all week I'll be fine. Just going to try to find something for the tacky, and then once we get that, I think I'll be pretty comfortable.
All right, well, Dylan Wilson will go for a championship next week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway dirt track, and that is it for the interviews here tonight. JP, sounds like we do have an unofficial look at what the championship standings are looking like here as we head into Charlotte Motor Speedway. Obviously, Cardwell and Wilson. Cardwell and Wilson are separated by 2 points, and it sounds like we actually do not have that ready, but Cardwell and Wilson separated by 2 points, and that's really what you need to know. Kendall Tucker, maybe, let's take a look here. We actually have a little thing I could take a look at here, and it looks like Tucker, JP, I'm not good at math this quick. Can you help me out here?
About 24 points back right now. Devin Morgan also put himself within a good amount of range, still give or take about 30, 40 points back at the moment. It's either way still tight among those drivers. A long shot still for Evan C. He's mathematically just within range by about 49 points, but it's down to just 5 drivers mathematically with a shot of the title chase. The best drivers with the chance to come away with the title, though, are Cardwell, Wilson, and Tucker in the end. Here's a look at that specifically right now on screen. You can see how tight it is right now with a 587 to 563 for the top 3. Morgan still has an okay shot, but for C, he would basically need the entire top 4 to catch on fire to be in the best position tonight. Everyone else, they're fighting for the bottom half of the championship prize pool at this rate, and as well to make sure they don't drop below the bubble spots tonight. A lot of pressure for many of these competitors by the time they get to the dirt track at Charlotte next week.
Look, I might get fired for this. The producer's probably mad at me here, but we have got to talk to the guy that is third in the point standings. He nearly won the championship last year. The 00 Kendall Tucker is here in the broadcast booth. He is 22 points out of this thing, and he is asking for an interview. We've got to talk to him. Kendall, how are you feeling? You have been in this situation before. Do you think that you have a car? Do you think you're going to be good enough to be, just as good as Cardwell and as Wilson?
We've been right there all year for the most part. Just I think if we can get out front and hopefully qualify up front, when we lay down a good lap tonight, unfortunately everybody we're racing against in points was inside the top 5 in qualifying, and that's just how we finished tonight. So that's just how it went tonight. That's not really what I wanted to see, but I think last year we was 17 or 19 points down going into Charlotte, and we finished second to Magillus, who won the championship. So I don't know, just hopefully try and get this thing on the pole for the 50 lap feature and just try and win it. That's just my only hope right now, is just hopefully win the race, and hopefully them 2 up in front of me have some bad luck, but it's just going to be tough. Both of them are super fast at Charlotte, so we'll just try and build the best setup we can and give it everything we got.
Good luck next week, Kendall.
Appreciate it.
Kendall Tucker, third in the point standings. I don't think we would have done our jobs correctly there if we did not talk to him. He has a legitimate shot to win $10,000 next Monday night, I should say. But JP, it's been a great night of action here. 50 straight laps with no cautions. And let's take a look one more time here at the points. It's Cardwell and Wilson separated by 2, 22 back to Tucker. And then Morgan, you mentioned it there, JP. The top 5 guys have a shot. Things have to go their way, but I would have to say It's between those top three guys. As we take a look at the schedule, obviously just one race remaining.
And I think this race tonight might also be a good preview for the Real World of Outlaws event coming up on Friday, but the dirt track at Charlotte, I think, is going to be very intriguing. A lot of drivers mentioned some of the preparation they did back in the springtime for an event called the Spring Fling, one of the top dirt racing events held in Penn throughout the service. That's going to help a lot of the drivers in the preparation to have a good baseline already for that race next week. But I don't think it comes down to just putting that setup on the racetrack and hoping for the best. I think a lot of drivers are going to still have to put hundreds on hundreds of laps as they would normally do for any other race during any weekend if they want to for sure make sure they leave every stone unturned to make sure they can win the championship at the dirt track at Charlotte. A difficult racetrack at times and one that can also put on a good show. It's going to be interesting though what type of show we get and what champion and who ends up coming away with the title by the end of the night.
That is the big question mark next Monday night. You better not miss it. The final round of the 2020 iRacing.com World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series will begin at the Charlotte Motor Speedway dirt track for 50 laps, 3 drivers with a legitimate shot at $10,000. Hayden Cardwell, Dylan Wilson, or Kendall Tucker, who will it be next week at Charlotte? Next Monday night, we'll find out. We hope to see you here on the iRacing Esports Network.